And you're on.
All right, late night from Willowdale. Clea and I just had a great evening at an old friend, an old high school friend up in Thornhill. And it was we had great conversations and great food, and it was a wonderful evening. And of course, one of the things we were talking about was obviously Trump and the Me Too campaign and a bunch of other things. So it made me think of should we do a video tonight? But yeah, so we want to keep it short. That was the other thing we want to do is keep the videos short. So I did the last couple of weeks with Trump and the comments he made, the vulgar and insensitive comments he made about countries in Africa and El Salvador and Haiti, and the furor that created. It made me think of why does the media, and we're sort of being complicit here by just doing this short video, but why does the media pay so much attention to every stupid thing Donald Trump says? Donald Trump says these things to create outrage. He doesn't really care what people think. People, he never expected to win the presidency. Okay? It was a game to him. It was all a game. He never expected to win the Republican nomination, and he never expected to win the presidency. And I think he was absolutely shocked in November of last year when he won. And I think Melania Trump probably did cry because she didn't want to be first lady. And he doesn't, to him, after he says outrageous things, he goes back to the White House and he watches TV and he just loves all the outrage that he has created.
He calls his daughter a piece of ass, right?
Well, yeah, Donald Trump is a vulgar, he's a racist and he's vulgar and he's a sexist. We all know that. So why do we have to keep, particularly in the U.S. media, particularly on CNN and all that, why do we have to keep having endless panel shows and endless punditry about, how crazy and vulgar and sexist and racist Donald Trump is? We know that. We've known that for years. In the 70s, Donald Trump and his dad were brought up and charged by the Justice Department for discriminatory practices when they rented apartments. So I think, and the Canadian media is complicit in this too, let's stop paying attention to all of Donald Trump's crazy outbursts and his tweets and all of that. I think it's more important to pay attention to policy and the policies of administration and how they affect people. That might be boring. Trade, foreign policy might be boring, but I think it'd be more important to look at the policies, the tax bill, how it affects people, healthcare reform, how it affects people, rather than just every crazy outburst that he makes, and then endless punditry and endless panel shows and endless talk on CNN. It's nutty. CNN basically created Donald Trump, and he was a creation of the media, and now we all have to deal with it. So I'm not going to go on. They've gone on long enough about that. But let's pay less attention to the craziness of Donald Trump and pay more attention to the policies of his administration and how they're affecting people. And that includes deregulation on the environment, deregulation on so many different things, and obviously trade and foreign policy and what have you. Now, going on to from Trump, and of course, one of the things that Trump always talks about is Hillary. He can't get over Hillary. He still thinks his election is illegitimate. And that's why he's still upset about the Russian probe. We don't know where the Russian probe is going. That's becoming kind of tiresome. Hopefully it'll wrap up the next number of months. But, it brings me to Hillary. Trump, every other tweet is about crooked Hillary. He just can't seem to get over Hillary. I mean, Hillary, I can't think of another time in American history where a former presidential candidate is still in the news the way Hillary Clinton is. And,
her book is selling like crazy.
Yeah, her book is selling crazy. Let me just reach over here. And yeah, this is a good book.
You have two books you want to show, actually.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is a good book, too. But a book worth reading. What happened? Some people joke about it. They say, what happened? Well, Hillary Rodham Clinton happened, which I don't think is fair. I think Clinton was a flawed candidate, but a good candidate. You know, and I do become. This is a sensitive topic, and you know, but I come be quite cynical about uh, the Me Too movement, and all these people marching in the streets, and the irony of it. A lot of people say Hillary's loss is one of the reasons this whole Me Too movement has come about, because the resistance to Donald Trump and his sexism. But you know, a lot of the women in America, voting age, didn't. A lot of them voted for Donald Trump, and a lot of them did not. A lot of them did not. Even if they didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, or even if they didn't vote for Trump, they did not vote for Hillary Clinton because they saw her as a flawed. They saw her as a flawed candidate, and she wasn't feminist enough, and they still, you know, they hold her responsible for her husband's, you know, infidelities, and I just find there's a lot of hypocrisy here. You know, a lot of women admitted, a lot of women in the United States admitted they voted for Donald Trump, and a lot of women said they stayed home because they could not vote for Hillary Clinton because she wasn't the perfect feminist. She was a flawed candidate. So I take this Me Too movement with a grain of salt, and I know there's much more to it than, you know, the loss of, you know, the fact that Hillary Clinton lost. But I'm not going to dwell on the Me Too movement. I don't want to get into all sorts of trouble.
No, say more about it.
It's a sensitive topic. But, you know, I do agree with what Bill Maher said on his show Real Time on HBO on last night, actually, Friday night. People should look up his video on YouTube. Bill Maher, you know, he has a show called Real Time on HBO, and he calls it MeCarthyism. And, you know, there's been now a lot of, even, you know, women in France, Catherine Deneuve, Margaret Atwood, a lot of people are becoming somewhat critical of the Me Too movement. It's sort of faddism, trendyism, everyone wants to be part of it, and you know, you can't say anything critical of it or you get condemned. You know, actor Matt Damon made some comments that are, you know, they're obviously degrees. There's a difference between, you know, minor sexual harassment and someone who's obviously the victim of sexual predator, or someone who's raped or what have you. And I'm not going to get into the whole, you know, 6 degrees of this or that. But I'm glad people are becoming critical of this. And I think when Bill Maher calls it MeCarthyism, he's right, and he makes a good point. There are degrees. You know, the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, is homophobic. He doesn't like gay people. But that doesn't make Mike Pence a member of ISIS. You know, people in ISIS throw gay people off buildings. You know, Mike Pence doesn't throw gay people off buildings. But ISIS and Mike Pence, neither of them really like gay people. But there are degrees, right? Mm. So Bill Maher makes a good point. So I'm not going to get into this whole Me Too movement. But people should watch Bill Maher's YouTube video. Bill Maher's show, Real Time, on HBO, that aired last night, that is available on YouTube. And so I'm just going to end this video, because now we've gone on a little too long.
8 minutes.
8 minutes, which is a lot longer than I wanted to do. Everyone knows that Toronto was on the short list to get this new Amazon headquarters. Probably won't happen for all sorts of reasons. But one of the reasons that Toronto has an AI and a burgeoning high-tech sector is because of Mars. I'm not saying one institution did all that. U of T was involved in all that. But Mars, which was a Liberal project to create an innovation hub in downtown Toronto, it was considered a boondoggle. McGuinty and Kathleen Wynne were criticized for it heavily, and now it's a major success story, home to a lot of AI companies.
Facebook.
Vector, right? Vector.
Is it Facebook or no?
I think Facebook is there too.
Facebook
and
is there?
and a bunch of other companies.
Yeah.
And it's a success story, and it's one of the reasons that Toronto's considered a high-tech hub, and a city that could even qualify for being on the short list to get this second headquarters of Amazon. Obviously, the second headquarters will go to a U.S. city, but to be the only foreign city on the short list was a compliment to Toronto, and a compliment to the workforce, but also a compliment to the Liberal government, federally and provincially, have put money into into the high tech sector, and Mars was considered a boondoggle, and lots of criticism against McGinty and Wynne and Kathleen Wynne, but I think she could take a victory lap for this one, and I know there's a provincial election coming on, but I hope she definitely could say, hey, promoted this project, now it's world renowned and it's getting a lot of attention. So pretty much end on that. I just want to end talking about Liberals.
You took some notes, but you didn't really use them.
Not really. Justin Bieber Trudeau and this whole feminist agenda, which I find a bit much. This idea where he's putting a litmus test on whether you can get funding, whether you are pro-choice or not pro-choice, I think is ridiculous. I'm pro-choice. Of course, I think women should have of course, I think women should control their own body and have access to abortion. Of course, absolutely. But I don't agree with this litmus test that Justin Trudeau is putting on funding and all that just to prove what a great feminist he is. That to me is that's over the top.
Although for trade and international relations, I mean, the feminist thing kind of plays into women's rights. I don't know.
I think promoting a progressive agenda internationally is good, but at some point you gotta realize that some countries aren't going to play ball, but we still need to trade. So we should definitely sign the successor agreement to the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and at some point we got to put our progressive ideals aside because we need to trade. So, anyways, that went 5 minutes longer than I wanted to. So, but that's it for now. But yeah, definitely watch Bill Maher's. Go on YouTube and get Bill Maher's comedian Bill Maher's show from last night, Real Time on HBO. I think he says it all. That's it.
Okay.